questions that we got from that Q&A video.
We're going to try to answer them as quickly as possible, so just because it's
as long as the first part.
Yeah, the first part ended up being really long, so we're going to get through them and answer your questions as best as possible, but try to do it pretty quickly. So the first question is from Denier Villasenor. Do you guys find any difference in stability with the 10mm or 13mm insert?
We're actually going to make a separate video on that because a lot of people have asked us that, but Frank hasn't used my 13mm belt yet because apparently my waist and stomach is smaller than his, if you guys could believe that or not.
Yeah.
So once he's able to fit into it, which he probably could now, it'll just be a tight fit. So yeah, once he gets to wear it, we'll make a full video.
We can move it too. We've been wanting to do that for a while, so we'll make a whole separate video about that. So just keep a lookout. And then he also asked, is Frank really that much taller than Harry?
3.5 inches.
Yeah.
He's taller. I guess it's pretty substantial.
Alright, so next question from John Dante. What do you do to progress or add weight on accessory lifts?
For my accessories on 531, I do 3 sets of 6 to 8 reps, so that means every time I do that accessory lift, I'll do 3 sets, and I'll start off at a certain weight doing 6 reps, and then once I can progress to 3 sets of 8 and I'm happy with the way that the reps look and I'm happy with the range of motion depending on the lift, then I'll increase the weight and go back down to 3 sets of 6 reps. And then I'll work my way back.
So static sets, I do the same thing pretty much. I just do static sets. I have a goal number of reps, say it's 3 by 8. Once I hit 3 sets of 8, then the next time I'll add 2.5 to 5 pounds.
Once you get more advanced, you can add in more sets and stuff, but it's not necessary for our level of training.
Alright, next question from Bryson Goalie. Is there any program you guys specifically like? Follow a program now, or what's your split? So right now,
it depends on your goals.
Just say what we're on.
Yeah, I'm on 531. He's on a lower push pull.
Yeah, I'm on a legs push pull with like power and hypertrophy days. So yeah, like you were saying, it depends on what your goals are and what level you are at, pretty much. For beginners, we usually recommend like a 5x5.
Yeah, either the ice cream fitness or strong lift, starting strength.
Yeah, just like a basic full body split that focuses on the compound movements.
We actually never did either of those.
Yeah, we didn't do
because we didn't know what we were doing when we first started training.
But we somehow made it to our intermediate phase just because we were consistent enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now, I mean, Wendler's a great program for intermediates.
We're probably like right in the middle of our intermediate phase.
Yeah. And then obviously more advanced stuff gets more complicated. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, all these recommendations are for powerlifting. If powerlifting isn't your goals, then you have to find a more bodybuilding oriented split.
Alright, Kevin NG. How much weight should one bench press, deadlift, squat, or OHP, curl, etc. to consider himself an intermediate or advanced lifter?
That's really subjective.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on a lot of things. It depends on your weight, obviously the biggest factor there.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if curling will curling a certain amount of weight makes you intermediate or advanced, but definitely the big 3 can. I mean, we're at like over 5-plate squat or 5-plate deadlift, over 4-plate squat, and
almost a
3-plate bench, and we don't really consider ourselves like the middle of our intermediate phase.
Yeah.
I know there are like different calculators and shit online that you can find that say where you are at in your phase.
It's not that like
concrete.
Yeah, you can't just look at it like, okay, I'm a beginner, okay, I'm intermediate. There's such a variation that you're somewhere in the middle, you know?
Yeah, it's tough to say. Oh, and he also asks, when should one consider adding ab exercise into push-pull leg split? I noticed the abs being worked out indirectly every major lift, so should he train abs directly or not? Since they're already being trained with the compounds, which day should I incorporate? I find it pretty hard to go into split with sore abs. I definitely agree with what you're saying here, where your abs are being hit on the major compounds pretty much every day. What I do is I'm on a legs push-pull, and I do my abs on pull day. That way it's like at the end of my 3 days, and then I have a day off in between, so giving my core a little bit of time to rest before going back into squats. You definitely should train abs. I don't think it's smart to not do any core work at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, some people say that you get enough work from doing compounds, and you might get some, but I think it's pretty smart to do some other weighted core work.
Yeah, I agree.
Alright, Corey Walden, do you prefer to do deadlifts on back day or leg day? That's another good question.
When I used to do legs push-pull before I really knew what I was doing, I always did it on leg day because I used to get really sore from squats, and I'd rather have that time in between to be able to recover instead of, don't you do, I don't know.
I think it depends on what kind of split you're on. Harry's on an upper lower, so it fits in nicely to do deadlifts on leg day, on like a lower day. I'm on a legs push pull, so I mean you could put it on leg day if you wanted. Anyway. Yeah, I do squats on leg day obviously, and then I do deadlifts on my pull day. I guess it really depends on your preference and how quickly you can recover from doing it. I like doing legs push pull, that way I have a day in between squats and deadlifts, and then an off day after my deadlifts before I go back into squats. Alright, C Dish Hop. You want to read this one?
When running Wendler 531, what is the lowest number of reps you can get before increasing weight? For instance, 3+ week, I hit 2 reps on my last set. 1+ I hit 1 rep on my last set. Can I still increase the weight after the deload? You could, but it probably wouldn't be the best idea, especially if you only hit 2 reps on that 3+ set. I would keep your training max the same until you can at least hit that 3 reps. And usually when I was running it, especially in the off season, I wouldn't increase my training max unless I hit at least 2 reps on that 1+ set. Because even if you're still making progress if you're hitting the same weights for 1 more rep, so there's really no point in trying to force it and lifting more weight than you should be.
Alright, Hillenbrandt 21. Do you work abs while bulking and cutting? How many times per week?
Yeah, you gotta work them, especially while bulking.
Yeah, because that's the time when you're gonna build the muscle. You definitely have to work abs while bulking and cutting. You might not be able to see them when you're bulking, but you're still gonna be hitting them and actually building the muscles around your core.
I'd say 2 to 3 times a week you should hit them.
Yeah.
Probably 2 times is probably sufficient.
Yeah, I would say 2 to 3 probably is good, just like any other muscle group.
Like arms, you should probably hit 2 to 3 days a week, depending on if you're natural or not, assuming you're natural.
Yeah.
2 to 3 times would be best. It's the same thing for any muscle. The protein synthesis is elevated for, it's like 28 to 48 hours, so hitting it every 2 to 3 days would be most optimal.
Okay, what does your cutting schedule look like for exercise? For example, lift Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, sprints Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. How many sprints do you usually do? My split right now is 3 days on, 1 day off, and it changes from week to week. And then what I've been doing right now, since I only have 2 cardio sessions a week, is just doing it on my off day. And my cardio right now is just steady state, so I'm not doing any sprints. We have a coach, Tyler Mayer with Team TNT, who's doing our prep, and he's the one who decides what kind of cardio we do. So right now it fits pretty nicely for me just doing it on an off day and steady state.
Yeah, for weight training, you shouldn't really change it up from what you were doing in the off season, just because if that program and lifting the way that you were lifting gave you that muscle, then obviously continuing to do that is going to help you maintain that muscle. And as for doing sprints, I mean, I do the high intensity interval training HIIT, so I do that on my leg days just so that I fatigue my legs completely on those days. I do it after I train for the day, which is probably a good idea if that's what you're going to be doing. And how many sprints? I usually do 10 intervals, so usually 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Alright, next question from Van Win. I'm currently prepping for a powerlifting meet that's in like a month and a half away. How should I change my current lifting routine while getting closer to the meet? I just finished doing Wendler and would like to know how I should properly prep myself for this meet so I can do well. Thanks. We've never done a meet prep.
We're not the right people to ask about that. We never like peaked or anything for a meet.
Just because we trained for bodybuilding too, and we didn't want to kind of stop for 4 weeks before the meet.
Yeah, especially during this prep that we're doing. And for our first meet, we obviously didn't want to like change things up too much.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people do like max effort for 3 weeks and take a deload and then go into the meet.
Yeah, there are some like Shaco templates too that are meant for peaking. So I guess you could look into that.
Do some research on it. I'm sure there are other YouTubers that have made videos on this. So
yeah, we're not the right people to ask about that. All right, Taylor, most optimal ways to perform HIIT, including exercise, duration, and recovery period.
When I do HIIT, I like to do it on the rower because it kind of incorporates your lower and upper body and it doesn't fatigue your legs like doing it on the bike or even running, doing sprints will. And as for, what was it? Most optimal ways, I do 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Frank says it's probably not the best idea because you should really try and get your heart rate down as low as possible before doing that next burst. But I mean, our coach, when I emailed him and asked him, he just said do 10 intervals and never really gave me any directions. I tried to ask him and he was just like, just do it.
Yeah, I think Lane Norton has a video about like Wingate sprints on a bike, and he says to do, I think like 15 seconds just all out as hard as you can go, and then just give yourself like a minute to a minute and a half to let your heart rate come down a little bit and then go at it again.
I've never even seen that video.
I mean, I think as long as you're consistent with what you do, that's obviously the most important. That way you can make adjustments.
Would be the same.
Yeah, so you can make adjustments based off of that. All right, the 18 bullet, perfect balance between bodybuilding and powerlifting split.
Something that includes both strength and hypertrophy work, I'd say.
Yeah, undulating periodization, where you have some
like 5-3-1,
some low rep work and some higher rep work. Harry does his low and high rep work in the same day.
Yeah. And
mine are, I have like my power days and then I have my hypertrophy days, which are a little bit lower weight and higher rep, so a little more volume.
Try to look up some articles just on different types of nonlinear periodization.
Yeah. Alright. Matt Donovan, what are your tips for beginners, both powerlifting and bodybuilding wise?
Like we said before, get on a program, a 5x5, like Strong Lift, Starting Strength, or Jason Blaha, Ice Cream Fitness.
Something where you're going to track your progress and progressive overload linearly as a beginner, because you want to take advantage of those noob gains. Other tips would be nutrition, obviously is huge. A lot of people who just start in the gym don't really realize how important nutrition is.
Get in a surplus. I mean, unless
you might not need to track macros,
really obese,
but
just get in a surplus.
If I mean, you could even maintain your weight at the beginning if you're like kind of that skinny fat deal.
Try to body
you'll be able to recomp a little. Yeah,
and then being in a surplus is probably the best thing you can do as a beginner.
Yeah, so track your macros or calories at least, and make sure you're eating enough.
Get enough protein in.
That goes hand in hand with recovery. Make sure you are having adequate time for recovery.
Don't try to overtrain in the gym. 3 days a week is plenty.
Yeah, if you're getting on a good program, you will be good with that. Alright, Tom Mann. Hey guys, what advice would you give to young lifters? Same thing that we just said in the last one. Yeah, be consistent.
Get your nutrition on point as soon as possible.
Nutrition, and get on a good program that focuses on the compound lifts and that you're tracking your progress and continuing to add weight to the bar. And also
write everything down.
Write everything down. Don't let your ego get in the way. You might be pretty weak at first. Make sure your form is on point, and you'll get stronger pretty quickly.
Have goals long term and short term.
All right, Trapezosaurus Flex. What is one thing that's made you stronger the most? Nutrition, program, consistency, etc. That's a really good question.
Here, can I answer it?
Yeah.
I'm assuming by programming you just mean periodization and training.
Yeah, what kind of split you're on?
I would say, while training is important, nutrition, if you're not eating enough protein or not eating enough in general, the training isn't going to do anything, especially if you're heading towards the end of your beginner phase. And I mean, consistency just kind of puts them together, so you can't really choose one that's the best. You just need to try and incorporate all three as much as possible.
It's hard to say which one. It's all three, obviously.
Nutrition alone can change body composition, but training without nutrition isn't going to do much.
All right, Tim Bolin Jr. Do you train for bodybuilding and powerlifting individually? If not, how do you program one as to not lose progress in the other? Kind of like we said before.
Just look up nonlinear periodization and figure out a program that incorporates those techniques, those training principles.
All right, Victor Sr. How to avoid put a lot of stress on the shoulders while doing presses for chest, such as bench press. The last reps I tend to push my shoulder forward to get the bar up. Any tip?
Tuck your elbows.
Tuck your elbows, pinch your shoulder blades back. That'll help to bring your chest up more and allow you to press more with your chest and not your shoulders.
Yeah, you really want to incorporate your chest, shoulders, and triceps into a bench press. You see a lot of bodybuilders coming down like this and pressing up like that. That's pretty much all in the anterior delt and even the upper chest. But when you tuck your elbows more and bring the bar down to your upper abs, you get a lot more triceps and a lot less anterior delts, but you're still hitting that, and you get both the sternocostal and clavicular fibers of your chest.
And if you're not training for powerlifting, don't do flat bench press.
Use dumbbells.
With a barbell, you can use dumbbells, yeah, or you can also go on the decline, which takes even more, pretty much no stress on your shoulders and puts most of the emphasis on your chest. Doing incline obviously will actually add more stress to the shoulders just on the angle. So dumbbells or decline if you don't need to do flat barbell for powerlifting. Yeah. All right, Mary Jane's Hook from Hell. What do you recommend to a beginner athlete who wants to get strong and gain weight but does a lot of cardio?
Eat. You have to eat more than you're burning.
Track your food and make sure you're eating enough to gain weight.
Yeah, if you're trying to if you're a beginner, you can probably get stronger and put on size in a deficit, but it's not going to last very long and you're going to burn out pretty quickly. That's it. Yeah,
so that's all the questions that we had for
training.
So
what we have left is nutrition, right?
Yeah, thanks for watching this one, and we'll have the nutrition questions in a separate video. Thanks, guys.
Give it a like.